All right, I'd like to make just a really brief video about the concept sheet. And I'm going to do that because, normally I talk about this in the classroom, but due to the holiday, etc., I'm going to show it to you right now. Um, so, the basic purpose of the concept sheet is so that you can talk about design. Why is that important? If you can't explain design, you are going to be an extension of a computer. In other words, someone with no design training will be making all design choices. That could be the owner of the company, your boss, if you're an in house designer. It could be, a client. And that's really not a very good situation to be in. So you're going to have to fluently talk about principles like hierarchy, balance. And so this is in preparation for that. And what really helps them understand that you're on track, you're thinking like they are, is when you can start to talk about market. Because when you talk about market and how you want to design things a certain way to appeal to the market, i.e., increase sales, etc., you are starting to talk their language. They're starting to understand you. Thus, you're building trust. That's a good situation to be in. And of course, we do want our designs to be successful. Okay, so you understand roughly the first page, but then we go on to this one, and it's sketches, and I realized I didn't have any examples. So I looked this up, and I found some student examples I've saved over the years. I thought things were done exceptionally well. So, this is a different project. It's a poster, but it still gives you an idea of how they experimented with titles, subtitles, body copy, and you could still tell they're experimenting with layouts. Either it's two column layout, a rotated column, a centered column. This is like a 4 column grid, maybe a 2 column grid. I don't know. But you get the idea. So they're thinking about these things, they're planning things out, etc. This is kind of what I want you to do, except you're not thinking about a single page. I want you to think about a spread because when you open a printed piece of material, such as a brochure like we're designing, you're going to look at 2 pages at the same time. So let's look at what those pages would look like. All right. First, some sketches. So here's a sketch layout for a magazine. So not quite exactly what you're doing, but similar. Title, maybe subtitle, intro. Okay. Title, subtitle, intro, then the body copy. These are more singular layouts, probably a book cover or poster, but they're still very well done, and they're all done by hand. I thought you'd appreciate that. I do. Notice what number of sketches they are. This is sketch 148. I'm not requiring that many. All right. Now I took some of my favorite pieces from student projects from the past and just snipped them down to thumbnail size, if you will. So just squint at these and look at how the text is just represented really by lines. That's all you have to do is draw thin, very closely, evenly spaced lines. You could do that 2 ways. You are going to justify the left side. Sometimes the right side is going to be justified as well. Other times, most likely, it's going to be ragged. Ragged right, flush left. Sometimes we justify type on both sides. Those are choices you'll make as you do this project. But look, ragged, 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 justified. So it's not a very common thing that we do, and it's because it creates rivers, and we'll talk about that later. But imagine taking a thick marker and drawing a straight line across, maybe another thick marker, a different color, drawing a straight line across. You've just represented title, of the section title there. You can draw with not as a thick marker, but in between, weight, and draw the title lines, maybe use a different color marker, draw some design elements there, and then thin pencil to fill in all the rest. That would be a good way to get some sketches. And you could try sketches with simple elements like this or lines. Again, I want the focus to be on typography and in particular hierarchy of the type. So what do we read first? What do we read second? What do we read third, fourth, fifth, etc. And this is all about flow. And that one video I explained how this has good flow overall. Okay, so I hope that helps explain what kind of sketches I'm looking for when you come to this point. You might want to, look at this page, pull it up on screen, and just turn some of these into sketches. Of course, I'd like you to experiment and vary these in placement, etc. But I think that would be very helpful. Another thing you can do is try to explore the grid. And by the grid, I mean there's a column here. We barely see it. There's another column here. That one's visible because of this body copy. Then another column here. So this is a 3-column grid. Here, this layout is a 2-column grid. This is also a 2-column grid. This, yeah, it's going to have to be a 2-column grid, 2-column grid, 2-column grid. So most people are using a 2-column grid to follow that. And that same grid applies to this side as well as this side. So look at the gap here. Look at the gap here. It should be the same. Look at the height. They should line up. Look at the height across there. It lines up. Look at the gap here. Gap here. It should be the same. So that's the underlying grid that the type sits on. You might want to fill that in first, just with a light blue pencil or something, and then use black markers or pencils to fill in the rest. All right, I hope that helps. Thank you very much.